everybody, and welcome back to More Than Just a Dog. My name is Kayla, and today is all about the very first RACH Invitational. It was awesome, and we've got to talk about it. In general, I think that the RACH Invitational was a huge success for the sport of rally and for the AKC. There are definitely highlights that I want to talk about, and there's also a couple hopes that I have for the future, including one that might be a little controversial. So make sure that you stick around so that you can weigh in with your opinion toward the end. Okay, first of all, let's talk about the RACH Invitational. For those of you who don't know, the AKC held the very first RACH Invitational in Orlando, Florida in December of 2024 as part of Championship Week. And by the way, if you've never been to Championship Week, you absolutely have to figure out how to get there at some point. Whether you go as a competitor, as a volunteer, or as a spectator, if you're a huge dog sports nerd, like I assume that you are if you're on this channel, then you've got to figure out a way to get to Championship Week. It is so much fun. You can watch conformation and dock diving, agility, obedience, and now rally. And all of those dogs are at the top of their game, at the top of their sport. It is so much fun to celebrate dogs all week long. The RACH Invitational absolutely fits into Championship Week perfectly. And the AKC absolutely reached for the stars of the sport and got them. That's my very first big highlight, was that there were so many really great RACH dogs or rally championship earners that ended up in the same venue competing for the same prize. And it did a really great job of highlighting just how remarkable these dogs are and how breed friendly rally can be. We saw St. Bernards, we saw Cardigan Welsh Corgis, we saw miniature Schnauzers, we saw Greyhounds, we saw so many different breeds competing in the same ring and really excelling. It did a really great job of showing off that you can be not just competing with certain breeds, but be competitive with all breeds. Remember, all of these dogs had to be champions before they even stepped foot in the ring. In order to qualify for this event, you had to either earn your rally championship title during the qualifying period or already have it throughout the qualifying period, which means that by the time all the dogs got there to compete, they were all champions. They were also all the top 6 in their breed, because in order to qualify for the RACH Invitational, they had to be the top 6 in their breed according to triple qualifying scores, also called triple Qs or sometimes rock legs. So the AKC did a great job of reaching for the stars of the sport and bringing them all together. I thought it was very, very well done. I thought one of the other really big highlights for this event was the structure of the event. Very unique in the sport of rally. It was actually an elimination style tournament. So on Thursday, there was something like 170 competitors, and they each got the opportunity to go into 3 rings. Each ring had a judge, had a unique course. They did walkthroughs, the whole 9 yards. And at the end of the day, out of a perfect score of 300, they tried to figure out who were the top 50. Once those top 50 dogs were determined, the next day, they had all their scores wiped clean. So the entire competition is back to ground zero, everyone on an even playing field. And here's where it got really interesting, because the top 50 on Friday morning competed again in 3 rings, each time with a different judge. But this time, there were no walkthroughs. And I thought that was a really interesting way for the AKC to really up the ante for the competitors, that the handler really had to have solid rally skills because they couldn't go into the ring and walk the course first. Instead, they had to understand what they were going to be asked to do based on just the course map alone. I thought it was a really, really interesting way to really test a handler's understanding of rally. And then the top 20 came. So again, top 50 competes. They have a perfect score would be 300. They figure out who the top 20 is, and then they have the top 20 round. And the top 20 round was very interesting because you only get 1 run for all the marbles in this RACH Invitational. The top 20 round was 1 run judged by 3 different judges. So a perfect score in this case is still 300, but this time it's 1 ring, 1 run, but 3 judges all judging the same performance, which was a really interesting twist. And of course, just like with the top 50, there was no walkthrough for this round. So really testing the handler's skills and understanding of rally, and also the dog's skills and understanding of rally, as well as having that distraction of 3 additional people in the ring with you instead of just 1. I really enjoyed the fact that every single time the dog moved on to the next round, the scores were wiped clean and they all started on the same level again. I thought it was really interesting to not have walkthroughs that second day, that Friday. I thought it was very, very well done and very well thought out structure by the AKC. In general, the biggest win for this event and for the sport of rally and the AKC in general is that this is already an incredibly prestigious event. It's happened one time, and I can already tell you that as someone who is a dog sports nerd and a rally competitor, I want to be a part of the event someday. If you change nothing at all, it's already, in my opinion, the most prestigious event in the sport. But more on that in just a second. The AKC has done a really great job in the last few years of really helping the sport of rally grow by growing with it and setting more goals for competitors. Just a few years ago, the RAE was the highest title that you could earn in the sport of rally. It was literally it. It was just the RAE. Now there's the Rally Master title, now there's the RACH title, and now there's this event, the RACH Invitational. So as rally is growing, the AKC is really making an effort to grow with it and grow in front of it. And I think they're doing a really, really great job. And this event is evidence of that. So kudos to the AKC for coming up with this event. I thought it was very, very, very well done. I'm already looking forward to hopefully maybe someday qualifying and competing with Forest too. Really quick, let's talk about some of the hopes that I have for the future, because I do have a couple. One of the biggest criticisms I have of this event was that it was not live streamed or recorded anywhere. So if someone couldn't go as a spectator, then they couldn't see any part of the event. And I think that that's a really big miss. I totally understand not filming every single ring. I think that might be a little much, but I think you could absolutely film or live stream the top 20. There was just one ring and you had dogs go one after another. It would have been roughly an hour to an hour and a half of filming. I think it would have made total sense to have done that. You could have done it on Facebook, could have done it on YouTube, could have done it on AKC TV. And for whatever the reason, the AKC decided not to live stream it this year and not to record it at all. So it also won't appear on any of those platforms at any point. I thought that was a strange decision, but I'm sure there's probably a reason for it. It's quite possible that the AKC just wanted to see how it worked, and then maybe next year or the year after that introduce streaming. I think that would be another very popular way to grow the sport, right? To have it available for people who couldn't come to watch it, but maybe you're thinking about getting involved in dog sports somehow. Now, I won't call this one a criticism, I'll just call it a hope for the future, because I don't think that the way that the AKC currently has the eligibility criteria set is a downfall of this event. I just think that it could be maybe a little bit better if we incorporated some type of consideration for the scores that a dog is earning during the qualifying period. I do think it's still important to keep the criteria of having a RACH or earning a RACH during the qualifying period. Right now, the way that it's set is it's only based, other than that, on triple qualifying scores and the amount of triple qualifying scores that a dog earns during that qualifying period. And as long as they're within the top 6 in their breed by triple qualifying score, then they're invited to this event. And I think that I would love to see a way to have the scores that a dog is earning incorporated into that somehow. Probably is done by a mathematical formula, and I will be very honest in saying that math has never been my strong suit. But I would love to see that somehow considered, because right now, if person A walks into the ring with their dog Fluffy, and Fluffy triple qualifies 30 times during the qualifying period, but is earning scores in the 80s, it's more likely that that person gets in with their dog compared to person B, who maybe only triple qualifies, let's say 15 times out of 15, and is earning scores in the 95 to 100 range every time they enter. And there's a part of me that does feel like quality matters a little more than quantity in this particular case. But again, I don't know that I have a perfect solution to that, because it's probably some type of mathematical formula which considers both triple qualifying score amount and also quality of performance. And I'm not a mathematician, but somebody out there is and could probably come up with a way that makes it the most fair to consider both quantity and quality of triple qualifying scores and triple qualifying legs to be a part of this competition. Okay, here's the one that I think might be a little controversial. I think the RACH Invitational is your championship event. I think right now, the RNC, or the Rally National Championship event that's held in the summer, is a really cool event, but it's not the same as the RACH Invitational. Having seen the RACH Invitational and having watched the level of competition, understanding, even if you never change the qualifying criteria, even if it stays exactly the same, it's harder to qualify for the RACH Invitational than it is the Rally National Championship right now. And I think that that just goes to show that the RACH Invitational should be considered the championship event for the sport of rally. There are a couple other reasons I feel that way too, right? It's not just that the qualifying is more difficult, but it is, right? When you think about it, to qualify for the RACH Invitational, again, a dog already has to have its RACH title or earn its RACH title during the qualification period, and then also has to be top 6 in their breed according to currently the triple qualifying scores, but I still hope there's a way to value the quality of the scores at some point in the future. But even if you never change that, that's still harder than what needs to happen for the RNC. Because if you're going to compete at the championship level at the Rally National Championship, you only have to earn a score of 93 3 times in Advanced, Excellent, and Master. And if you have a decent dog, you can go out and you can do that in one weekend. There's no real criteria beyond that. So you could have, as an example, if you have a Sheltie, which is a pretty popular breed to see in dog sports, you have to really work super hard to get to the RACH Invitational because you have to be in the top 6 of your breed. But as long as you score 93 points or better 3 times in Advanced, Excellent, and Master, you can go and compete at the championship level at the Rally National Championship. 100 Shelties could end up there, but only 6 of them could end up at the RACH Invitational. The eligibility criteria for the RACH Invitational is harder than the Rally National Championship. The structure of the 2 events is also very different. Right now, the RACH Invitational, as we kind of talked about, is an elimination style tournament, which is very reminiscent of most sports at this point, right? When you think about like the postseason in baseball, it's an elimination style tournament. And when you think about the RNC is actually structured much more like the Obedience Classic Invitational, which also happens during championship week in December. But if you think about it, like you can go to the RNC and show off in novice, in intermediate, in advanced, excellent, master championship level. That's really more of a showcase than it is a championship style event. Still a very cool event. I don't think you should get rid of it. I think you just need to change its name. I think instead of calling the Rally National Championship a Rally National Championship, you need to call it the Rally Classic Invitational. And then when it comes to the RACH Invitational, if you want to keep the name, you can, but that needs to be considered the championship of the sport of rally. The last point that I'll make on that is this, that in general, the competition of the RACH Invitational is categorically harder than the RNC, because even if you do compete at the championship level of the Rally National Championship, you only compete 4 times, right? So you compete twice in Master and then once in Excellent and once in Advanced for a score of 400 cumulatively over that time. But when it comes to the RACH Invitational, the person who wins is going to end up competing at least 7 times, right? Because they have to compete 3 times on the first day, 3 times on the second day as part of the top 50, and then also 1 more time when it comes to doing the top 20. So you're going to have a dog that's competed 7 times, whose score is wiped clean at every new round, compared to the dog that does the championship level of the Rally National Championship, only competes 4 times, and it's a cumulative score. I think between the structure, the difficulty, both of competition and also of the qualifying period, the RACH Invitational is Rally's national championship and deserves, frankly, to be considered that and, in my opinion, called that. But I'm really curious to hear other people's thoughts too, because what I really would love is for the winner of the RACH Invitational to be called the champion of the sport. They competed against champions. They won against champions. They're the champion of champions, and somehow we need to really draw attention to that and really honor it. And even still, I think both events still need to happen. Like I said, I just think that they need different names, the Rally Classic Invitational instead of the RNC. And then if you want to keep the RACH Invitational name, I guess you could, but that really needs to be considered the champion of the sport by the end of the year. So that's my controversial opinion. I recognize that not everybody will agree with me, but I want to know your perspective as well. So make sure to leave a comment below. If you have a different perspective, or if you competed this year or saw the event somehow, I want to hear how you thought the event went. And if you are looking forward to competing at some point in the future, just like I hopefully am too. Really quick shout out, a huge thank you to the workers and volunteers that put this event on every year. I'm sure it's a huge undertaking, and for those of us who love going and love competing, I'm very thankful for all that you do. After all, championship week literally cannot happen without you. Thank you so much to all of you who joined us for this video. If you like it, do me a favor and just give me a thumbs up to let me know. And if you want to see more content about dog sports, then make sure that you hit subscribe and ring the bell. That way you get alerted every single time we post a new video. And in the meantime, no matter what you choose to do with your dog next, good luck and have fun. See ya.
Way to go. Wow.